monstrance will destroy you.
She's alive! Alive!
I am Dracula.
Hey guys, I hope you can hear us okay. Welcome to the different side of the studio. We're going to be working on some stuff today, and we figure we have you guys in. We tried this a number of times yesterday, and we were having all sorts of problems with the streaming software, so we hope that we have everything kind of worked out now. I'm going to try to follow along as much as I can on Facebook and Instagram because we are multi-streaming to a lot of different platforms, trying something new with EVMux. So that's part of the problem. We had some issues, making everything work. So yeah, that's where we are. And Miss Producer Lady is here as well.
I'm not producing. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
producing, but I'm producing work.
You're producing.
The computer.
Yeah, you are definitely producing stuff here today. And other than that, we're going to just kind of take it loosey-goosey. It's just a regular old Wednesday afternoon, literally. So now we're going to get into stuff, and you are going to get to see interesting things from that perspective. Hope everyone can hear us. Again, this is a trial for us, so we're going to see how it goes. And it looks like everything is broadcasting correctly. So if you do happen to fall on this, could you please just let me know? I can hear you fine or whatever. That way we'll make sure that everything is still good. I'm trying to hit those now just to make sure that it's broadcasting with no problems. Normally we have a third set of hands with Boris. If you've watched Monster Manor, you know Boris. He's a handful, but we absolutely love our Boris, and we've actually missed him lately because he's been doing some business at home in old country. So he sent us a few letters, but they came and they were really dirty. So I don't know what that was about, but they were moist and a little bit dirty. So he promises that he will update us all very soon when he makes his return. So again, thank you guys so much for following us today. I'm going to be watching, like I said, on as much as I can, so we can get this any questions answered that you might have. So yeah. So what we are going to do today is a little bit different than the normal Monster Fair. So if you guys are products of the 70s with the monsters and everything, you probably know who this guy is here. Hopefully that's coming through okay. So this guy was, it's actually a reproduction of something called a Penplax aerator for a fish tank. So in the old days, he had a little tube that went up here, and then it fed air into his abdomen, and you can see that little gap in there. Basically, with that gap, it would allow the bubbles to flow up through the torso. A little bubble would come out the top of the head, and it would burp, and then he would go back and forth like that in your fish tank. So that has been out of production for a million years. So I decided to recreate it on my own. There is one that's like cheapy version from China. It's painted horribly. It has these big plastic bubble LEDs in the eyes that don't light up. I don't know what that's all about. The cool thing about ours is that I am going to be retrofitting it, I guess. It'll be like a desk fidget item, but I'm going to put a bladder in this, so you don't have to put it into a fish tank. You basically squeeze the little bulb and he goes up and down. So just for a little bit of nostalgic flair. And there are differences, so it's not like the original. Absolutely has its differences. The base is the biggest difference because this is a newly designed base to hold him. Um, it will be weighted appropriately, but it has very much the same details as the original. Now, this original, if you can find it online, it's like 17, what is it, 1700? I think I saw it for,
Something ridiculous.
yeah, and that was mint in box. I've seen some for $700 loose, so I could never afford that. So here we go, make my own. And it's about as close as you can get to the original because it was modeled off of the Aurora Plastics model, which is kind of cool. Since we had the file, I did one of these just as a let's see what it does. This one is a mini version of the Aurora model kit. So all of the parts that were in this that were used in the two items that I'm going to be working on today is from this model, just like it was back in the day, because they did a lot of borrowing back and forth. Aurora makes the model, AHI makes the figure, Penplax makes the little aquarium. Yeah, so odd, but it got its mileage for sure. So I basically used that same tooling to recreate the other items that were made from it. So of course there was engineering that needed to be done. This one was the first prototype, and you can see the mechanism for holding it, but it was a little slot system. Now it's actually a better system, but this was the original prototype that I made and painted up to just get an idea how it looked. So yeah, fun stuff. So he's going to be my inspiration today for painting the others. So, and why, may you ask? You might ask, why all the Creature from the Black Lagoon stuff? Well, many of you, if you're monster fans, know that Creature from the Black Lagoon came out 70 years ago. So it is kind of a monumental deal for us monster kids that really love this stuff. So 70 years ago, we did our Gillibration, which was in 2019. That was the 65th anniversary. And we had David Skoll, who has since passed away, Rico Browning, who has since passed away. What's that?
We're gonna need some more of this sugar.
What schmuckus? The medium? The matte medium?
Yeah.
I think don't we have some over here?
I have it.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll get some more. Matte medium is one of our go-tos on a lot of this stuff. The cool thing about the matte medium is
the extender. We've got satin and gloss. Do we have another satin? I mean, I've got enough in this.
I think we've got
now,
a lot of gloss.
We'll need to pick up another satin.
Yeah. No, we don't have. Yeah. We don't. Yeah. We've been painting a lot of stuff, developing a lot of new products. We've been working on a lot of things. I'm really kind of pushing my envelope here on how much I can do at once. But who needs sleep, right? As long as the stuff goes and we have coffee, we're happy. Still trying to make sure that we don't have any missed questions. The only one that we're not going live on currently is actually TikTok. So we might actually add that on, but it's another one of those things where sometimes it's hard to break into all those and watch them simultaneously. Yeah. So waiting to see how everyone is logging in, double checking, making sure it shows that we are live. It's the first time that we're actually going live on Instagram. So I am kind of a newbie on this, and I'm trying to figure it all out as we go. But I'm sorry if it's being a little weird. I'm not sure how that works with Instagram because we had to have a key that you enter in and all that stuff, but I can't seem to see how it's working. It's not showing me from my position that I'm even live. So could be peaches, could be dog food. I'm not sure, but we'll we'll see how it goes. And you might be asking also, well, what's Miss Amber working on? We can call her Amber today because she's officially not the producer lady, although she always has her in the, in her pocket, pulling it out at any given time. So, what are you working on?
Some skulls. Just staining them and making them because they're freshly painted, so they look, super clean and bleached, and we want a more natural look on these skulls.
Yeah.
So just getting some focus on the crooks and nannies.
Yeah, we're doing an awful lot of work with our sister company, not even our sister company, he's more of a partner to us. We work a lot together. And he is 3DPS. You actually know of the stuff that they do through the commercials that run on Monster Manor TV. They're one of our bigger supporters. So we like to kind of, and I'm doing some other stuff here just to make sure that we get the smoothest possible thing, because we just had a weird thing come up, and Instagram may or may not getting a live feed. It says we're live, but I can't see it for myself, so I don't know. So if you are watching us from Instagram, just, hey, how's it going? Pop in, say,
Hey,
you can see us on.
I have your stabby cat. You text me your address, please, Christine, because I don't know when the next time we're gonna get into Claremont is, and I would rather send you Stabby Cat and you have it to use than it sit here on my desk.
Stabby Cat.
Yeah, Stabby Cat. This is Christine's.
Yeah. They're not seeing that. I'm gonna turn it the right way.
Listen,
But we have it right here. Stabby Cat.
That's Christine's, and I
Yeah.
send it to her. So if she could please text me her address or Facebook message or whatever, just something, so I can make sure she gets it.
Yeah.
I feel bad. We never get down to that area. We always say, "Told you, blah, blah," and then we don't.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you know what? Let me just send it. And then, of course, I'm sure the minute after I send it, we'll see them. But I would
Of
rather
course.
send it than not.
Of course, because we had a similar thing happen with a couple of good friends of ours,
The Mortons.
And we were expecting to see them and everything, but of course, we're so rushed trying to get stuff ready for the show. Then I do a bonehead thing, and
I leave stuff at home.
yeah,
I'm like, I had a box of stuff for you.
yeah, that's always fun. It's like, oops. So.
No worries, girl. That's my girl.
So we hope everyone is doing good. It's been a while since we've been live on any profile.
Christine, are you on Facebook or Instagram?
Yeah, for some reason I'm not getting anything out of Instagram. I hope I do, but
I don't know. I don't Instagram. I don't have the Instagram. I don't use the Instagram, so I couldn't get on there and look from an outside person's thing, anyways, because I don't do the Instagram.
yeah.
Can't figure it out. Christine's on Facebook. Okay.
Yeah, but if you're just joining us, for those that have asked incessantly, how's Boris? Yeah, he was in Old Country.
As far as I know, he's still in Old Country. We expect a return, but based on the crusty letters we received, crusty yet somehow moist.
They had like literal dirt.
Well, that is their main source of currency, dirt and turnips. So I don't know. The letters were very confusing and didn't make any sense. So that didn't help that parts were missing.
Yeah. But he's got some news coming, so I don't know what it is, but the dude was excited when I talked to him, so I'm not sure what that was all about. But yeah. All right, we're going to try this. We are now going live as well on TikTok. So wherever you want to see us, you can see us. We are trying to make it as friendly an experience as possible.
Oh, Christine. Frankincense. Honey.
Oh,
Stop breaking stuff.
I wish I could.
Christine.
I'm trying
Frankincense.
not to.
Look it up. The plant name of
It's
it.
flopping.
Oh, when is our next
Of course.
show? We're in a hiatus. Season 3 will begin
Momentarily.
later in the spring.
Yeah. Sorry for the jiggle cam. I'm trying to get this worked here.
Yeah, Boswellia is the planty name of frankincense, and let me tell you, anti-inflammatory to like the nth degree, like
There we go.
amazing.
Now we've got it.
I holy Moses, it is doing things. I mean, granted, I still have my bad days, because you do, but
Hopefully everyone can see now.
Where it's at is Boondabar. And if you're not taking it, you need to be taking it. I've been ordering it from this vitamin company, Swanson Vitamins.
Yep.
They have
like I said, you're going to hear everything on this show.
All the things.
Yep.
If you're looking for a good price for it, check out Swanson, Christine.
Yeah, Swanson is...
And the black currant. Is that black currant or red currant?
Black currant.
Black currant.
Yeah. All right. So for those, okay, now we're on multiple platforms here. I'm taking a look to make sure we don't have any questions coming through. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Monster Manor TV. Normally we broadcast after our shows, and this is what we do in our day job. We make things and we sell prototypes and that sort of things to companies. And what you're not seeing here on TikTok is producer lady is on the other side of the office, and she is painting up some skulls, getting them ready. So I'll see if I can turn this around so you can see over there. There's producer lady. Say hi, producer lady.
Hi, producer lady.
So she's doing some skulls. We'll try to show you that later. But on this side of the room for our TikTok friends, we're working on painting up these little pen plaxes. So now you're up to speed on where we are. The gold has already been painted on this one. It was a very cheap, quick paint job basically that they did in China. So that is what this is here. So just painting on the details now, which that's always fun because I used to have one pair of glasses that I would remove whenever I did painting because I could see up close really good. And now that I'm freaking old, I'm having to wear bifocals and reading glasses and magnifiers.
You're welcome, Christine. I get all my supplements through them. They're super fast delivery, inexpensive, on all fronts. I love Swanson.
And we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. If you have a question or want to just talk monsters, feel free, because that's what we're about here. We're all about monsters. You can see some of our older shows on our YouTube station, Monster Manor 1313. Where else can they find us? MonsterManor1313.com has all of our links.
And they should be able to look on Facebook through our videos.
Yeah.
And show the previous lives and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, we've got a lot of previous lives and stuff. And we do everything from actual entertainment with interviews and stuff like that of the stars that we all love, but also tutorials on how we make the monster stuff here. You know, what goes into making a mold of a giant life-size bust or whatever. And I always forget in doing these, part of the charm in painting these was that they were not painted perfectly. And I am apt to do the best job I can with painting. And in truth, these things were painted in factory, very, very rough.
So for those of you who are on Facebook and Instagram, if you're seeing this on Instagram, I don't know.
We're trying to see that now.
This is the turkey vulture skull, and I'm trying to get this backy lefty righty.
Feel free to come over here and show our friends from TikTok as well if you'd like. I can show that because that's equally interesting, all the stuff that we do with that.
Oh, here's one.
Right. Yes. So this is for a pendant.
No, these are earrings.
Oh, these are the earrings.
Yeah.
The earrings of the, oh God, it blasted it with light. Let me see if I can change that. For some reason, it's the automatic light setting. But that is a turkey vulture skull. It was actually scanned right off of that. Right off of the real thing.
Ethically sourced turkey vulture
yes.
skull.
It is illegal to own actual skulls. However, if you are documenting, you're allowed to document and do a scan of an item that is, you know, being...
Yeah, these are all 3D printed. They're not, like, we're not out killing baby birds.
Correct.
To take their heads. It's just a scan off of an adult, ethically sourced turkey vulture that is then printed, painted, you know, the works.
Exactly. Exactly.
We're not killing baby birds. We're actually growing baby birds, which is kind of cool. Not turkey vultures.
Not
chickens,
turkey vultures.
But still.
Yeah. The rule, I think, if I remember correctly, the rule applies to any birds of prey. Those are the ones that you're not allowed to screw with. So hawks, eagles, turkey vultures, all sorts of stuff like that. Clean up a mess.
Are you making messes over there?
A little bit, but it's all fun. Someone was asking on TikTok about making molds. Now, we do have a lot of tutorials on our YouTube on making molds, mostly like for masks and that sort of thing. So if you are interested in learning more about mask making, please take a look at our wonderful YouTube.
The information you need there, we are always available.
Yes. And the cool thing is that if you're looking for more molds and less, you know, monster interviews and stuff like that, you can also check out the Scott Fenster Sculpture Studio, which also does its fair share of tutorials and that sort of thing. So there's a lot to see. And all of these that I'm working on are actually 3D printed, but I had to really, really work hard and crazy to make sure that these things worked right from an opacity, because everyone knows with the UV it has to be fairly translucent, and these are very opaque to match the original pieces. So a lot of research goes into that and a lot of trial and error. There is a lot of trial and error in this. So, yeah. As much as I would like to say, oh, it's foolproof, anyone can do it, it does require so much patience. I was screaming the other day because we had all sorts of issues with our slicer program, and it was doing a horrible job slicing these things correctly. They just did an update. We used Cheeto, which I'm going to be looking into other options, honestly, because they did an update. I do love Cheeto Box when they leave it alone. There's no reason for them to do.
Well, because they're trying to add new features.
Yeah.
And they just, you know.
Yeah, but it drives me nuts. I'm just trying to keep up on, you know, doing stuff with that program as it was.
Progressing with the times. Don't be an old curmudgeon. Do you make custom? Yes, depending on what it is. If you need it molded, we can mold it or teach you how to mold it. I mean, depends on what it is, what you need when it comes to custom molds.
That is such a mixed bag. The molds, you can do two different projects that seem like they would be absolutely the same, but they are not. You know, every mold is its own monster, no pun intended. But every one of them is different. Yeah, every one of them is has their own challenges. You know, you can have something that has an undercut that ruins your day. You're trying to make a mold of it, and you can't. It's just impossible. Like those skulls that we're working on over there, it would be impossible for us to do that in a mold with that kind of detail.
All the cooks and nannies.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that there's so much detail and there's so many.
Gonna DM us about a mold.
Who is?
Oh, Christine.
Ah,
Apparently she's making something and she needs a mold made.
okay.
Hook us this
So
up.
that's what we're doing.
Be
Working
made.
on
She's
eyeballs.
crafty, too. She makes cool stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I I am always amazed at all of my friends' creativities. The people that follow us on Monster Manor, they send us stuff that they've done.
We attract our
Our own.
people.
Yes, indeed.
She's the crafty bugger, and we all, attract people with our same artistic spirit.
And I'm going to brag on someone because, they deserve it. They have really taken off over the last year. I've seen them really grow as artists and as friends. But I got to give a shout out to Titanium Steve himself,
Oh, I do love me
Howard
some
Hawkins.
Steve. He's
Titanium.
probably at work, so he's
Yeah.
probably not gonna
I
see
don't know unless he's on a lunch break or something like that, but I absolutely adore Titanium Steve / AKA Howard.
And
He
his
also
darling
has,
wife, Cindy.
yes,
That's
he,
my other girl.
yeah, he
I
has,
attract women by the name of, usually with C's and M's.
yes,
Christine and Cindy and Michelle
Yep.
and all the girls.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm not
I
good
dig
at
it.
making lady friends, but all my lady friends, pretty much their names start with the same.
Yeah.
But I do love my girls.
Oh, see, I knew it. There he is. Howard is on TikTok. He's on his lunch break.
Ah, that's my bro.
Thank you for hanging with us. I was just bragging on you, man, because I love what Havoc Props is doing. And he's one of those good guys that always shouts out and has supported us ever since we met. And we met in a very odd way. We met at a show called Phantasm, where Boris, they had the poor decision-making ability to hire Boris to do all of their like their announcements and stuff like that, but particularly for their film festival. So these guys came up and they were having their film entered.
Film festival.
Huh?
To host their film festival.
Oh yeah. And he of course had a ball, and everyone that went also had a ball. But that's where we met the guys that entered a film, and Howard happened to be with them. And the rest is history, because we kind of Boris called him Titanium Steve, not knowing. He just said, "What actor are you? Who are you? You got to be like Titanium Steve or something." And it was a big laugh then. And yeah, we just kind of struck up a friendship, and it's been pretty much ever since.
So bad because I know his name, but I still, no matter what we do, call him
Titanium Steve. It's just fun. It's fun. What I'm doing is I'm going back in and I'm cleaning up some of the details on this eye. I'm not really happy with the way that it laid on at first. So for those that are watching, this is actually a cool thing for you to see, because since these are all UV printed, they are UV resin printed. So you can't paint them with, say, acrylics and have it stick like glue to people that are maybe using it as a display piece, or they're going to be handling it a lot. So the 3D prints can actually be painted with enamels. We do a lot of our paint jobs with the enamels. And then once they're sealed with an enamel sealer, which there are a number of good ones. There's a nice satin one that we'll probably be using on everything that you see today. But it's a satin enamel, and it takes longer to dry than a normal acrylic clear coat.
A hobo baby hair.
Huh?
I just pulled a hobo baby hair out of this paintbrush.
Well, there you go. But
little bump. Actually, I have to go get her shortly. What time Oh, it's other half. All right.
Yeah, we're good. So yeah, so I always I forget where I was because I got interrupted by hobo baby hair. I heard that and I'm like, ADD kicked in hard. So
did you take your medicine today?
I did.
Did you medicate?
I did. So that's what we're doing. We're painting in the eyes first, and we're almost done with all of the eyes on these. Just cleaned them up a little. I always forget that these were painted so crudely. If you want to see more about this, you can look up online pen plaques, PENN hyphen plaques, PLAXX. And they painted them so crudely, but it was part of that 70s charm. And I always want to put all the detail in and everything's got to be perfect. And it's not that way. It's kind of everyone had fun painting these in the factories, I'm sure. Get them done in 15 minutes. But love you too, Howard. It's always good seeing you pop your head in. And if you guys have any questions on Instagram and Facebook, Amber is trying to keep an eye on that because that's being run through Evie Mux. And we will have some neat, interesting surprises for you guys throughout the show today because we've got a couple of things that we're working on, and we always like to show little things as we go. So if you have any questions, we're getting a lot of people joining us. Hang around for a little while because if you don't see something that you're interested in right off the bat, you most likely will within a few minutes. So.
And yes, I do have poop on my desk because I know that's going to be a question at some point. Yes, I do have a
You do have poop. Now this is where we really can have fun because the red, I don't know why this was, but in the 70s, they had no qualms about throwing buckets and buckets of blood on children's toys, on decorations, on all of that stuff. What's weird is I feel we came out of the 70s okay. We weren't that bad. But we all grew up to be normal people for the most part.
Depends on what you consider normal.
Yeah. But everything had blood, and it was never done like super, super neat. You can see that that's like draped right over the claws and everything. For us, it's kind of, holy crap, this is kind of, you know, the perfectionist in me wants it done perfect, but it was never done perfect. I mean, every one of them was different too because they weren't done with a paint mask in factory. So some had more, some had less. It just depended on who was doing the painting.
Some little Taiwanese woman.
Most of the stuff back then was actually made in Hong Kong.
Okay, well.
So yeah, there were agreements, political unrest all through the history of making stuff, and it's gone from Hong Kong, just regular old China, Hong Kong, where else? Taiwan.
The Philippines.
Yeah, Philippines. Now we're seeing a lot of stuff coming out of all places, Mexico and India. So they're opening up new trade relations, I think, because things have been so difficult since the world changed, unfortunately. We started out very strong in 2019, had great plans, and life just said, put a pin in that. We're going to come back to that. So, yeah, we were supposed to do another Gillibration. That was in the works already. That had to get tabled. We were talking about doing a standalone classic MonsterCon. That had to get tabled. And it's so unfortunate as well because if you've been following us, you know that we lost a good friend to us and to every other person out there that calls themselves a fan of monster movies and Monster Kids, because you already have stuff that he did. And if you own like the DVDs of the classic monsters, the Universal monsters, mm-hmm. There were always the DVD extras, and those were, you go to the special yeah, he produced them. This guy David J. Skull, and we asked him, hey, could you come to Gillibration? And he came, And then we said, hey, would you like to be a guest on our show? And he said, absolutely. And he came. And he had a new book that we were talking about, The 31 Days of Halloween, and it was with TCM, and it was just nice. And then it became a thing where if I had a question about Dracula, he was the authority. He actually was. His books were taught in literary classes. They were that accurate and amazing. So if I had a question about Dracula, about his costume, about his cape color, I'd reach out to this dude, and he was like awesome. He was like a wizard, when it came to
foremost authority
yeah, he
on all things monster,
yep,
especially Dracula. And he was good that if it was something he didn't know, he was going to do the research to find
he was gonna
out.
find out. Yep.
Because then he's like, I never thought about that before. I would also like to know.
And this is one of the only people that I know, and I know a lot of monster kids, a lot of professional monster kids. He is one of the only people I know that actually got to wear two of the industry's most beloved Draculas. One being Bela Lugosi, his cape. The other one
Obviously
was
not the one who was buried with.
no. But he actually got to wear the cape, and if you watch the episode that he was on for Monster Manor, um, he talks about how Bela Lugosi, he was tall. He never looks that tall on film. Obviously, it's hard to tell how tall people are, but he on a good day was about 6'2", 6'3", depending on who you asked. Bela Lugosi, and our friend David J. Skull, he was maybe 5'9", 5'10". So he was a shorter guy, and wearing the cape, he had to do it in a special environment that he wasn't going to damage the cape on the floor or anything like that. But he was a big proponent of saying it was, ivory on the inside, almost a taupe color on the inside of the cape. And, we had a debate once because I was like, I'm a fool when it comes to trivia. I love watching trivia. I love reading about trivia, about different things, and I'm a big fan of a lot of the.
You just want to be Jeopardy smart.
Yeah, no, I don't need to be Jeopardy smart, but it's like growing up. I mean, there were the things that we loved. 1966 Batman, starring Adam West. Most monster kids also loved Adam West Batman. Grew up with it. So there's like this.
For you old people.
Yeah, I mean that George Reeves Superman, soon Christopher Reeves Superman. So we all had this same kind of hunger for the same stuff from that era. And late 60s to early 70s, that's what people were doing. Monsters were huge back then, classic monsters particularly. So the thing is that Batman's cowl and cape, all of the satin parts on Batman's wardrobe that were dyed satin, they started out dark blue and then eventually faded to like a purpley pink, and it's because of the dyes. So that was one of the debates that I had with David was it truly a taupe color, the inside of the cape? Because it wasn't red. It was like definitely, a grayish tone. But what color was it? And I kind of use that as an example that Adam West's cowl kind of faded to an odd color. Maybe the satin over time yellowed and it wasn't really taupe. Maybe it was kind of, more ivory or something like that, But I miss the hell out of him. He was such a good guy. And he had a lot more left in him. I was just so heartbroken. And he died in the worst possible way. You know what? Be responsible. I get that you're going to drink. I like to have a drink every once in a while, but I don't go anywhere. And the problem is New Year's Day, he went to a movie, and on the way back, he was hit by a drunk driver. And he was unfortunately unalived on impact. And the person that was with him, his partner of I don't know how many years, decades, he wound up passing away in March. So it was so sad. But drink responsibly. I'll show this side first. This is intentionally a kind of a bad paint job, but it's to match the 1970s look. So that's what we're going for. Something that you would have seen in the store, because funny story about this stuff is when I was a kid, these were all over the place. And I remember I went into TG&Y once, and TG&Y was like a five and dime store, kind of like, discount chain, like Walmart is now before Walmart. So I went in there, and their pet department had this. And I wanted this thing so bad. And my mom was like, "You don't have a fish." Well, can I get a fish? No. I was probably
Can I
what?
get a fish?
I was maybe 5 years old.
I had fish when I was 5.
Yeah. But she was like, "No, you can't get a fish tank just to have a toy. You have other toys." So I never got one of these. So it's one of those grail items. But like I said earlier, no, nobody I know can afford, $700 to $1,400 for one of these. So for an aquarium decoration, and most of the time it's broken.
Saltwater fish and stuff. The stuff that goes in those tanks is very expensive, and usually
Yeah.
those kind of tank decorations are actually living things like the coral and stuff. And that's
Exactly.
something that your brother has, but I mean, I don't think he spent $1,700 on coral. But
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I think your mother would have a stroke if he spent $1,700 on coral. She'd
Probably.
beat him senseless, and he's a grown man.
Probably. So there's our creature. Hey, Three Torches, how you doing? We're seeing all of our old friends on Facebook and Instagram, hopefully. I hope they're there. I haven't been able to confirm that. But TikTok.
Confirm nor deny.
Yes, exactly.
Like
but it's good to see familiar faces. Again. If you enjoy what you're seeing here, shout it out, pass it to others, and see what they say. It would be a real plus for us. So these are very simple. These are the bases that they had them on. I hope that's not too blinding. But yeah, this is the base that he's going to stand on. So it's multi-parts. Now, we're leaving this open for now because what we can do is we can actually attach him after the fact, and he'll stand on that. Now, this will have to be weighted. The base is very light because it's hollow cast. But we can actually fill that with gravel or whatever, and then by the time we seal it up, it's the way it's supposed to be. So, again, if you're joining us on this, these are designed to be aerators originally in the 70s. So they would kind of do this thing going back and forth, and the air would
those come. Wavers in front of the used car lots.
Yeah, it would slowly. There would be air from the pump. Yeah.
Before the days of sign spinning. I mean, not that sign spinning wasn't always a thing, but before it became super.
Yes. But there would be a pump that ran into the bottom of them, and it would fill them with air. And when the air got to here, it would bubble out. So it would kind of fill up, go up like this, and then it would burp some of those bubbles out and fall down. So it was just an aerator, and it was a neat aerator. I always loved.
Like the scuba diver guy.
Yeah, where they bubble out and lift up stuff and that sort of thing. So that is our little creature. So, yeah, we got a couple more things that we need to do on the base, and then he's done. So, he's about the easiest paint job and the most fun.
No, I don't do sign language. Well, I mean, I talk with my hands. Does that count?
Yes.
You already had coffee over here, you turd.
Who are you? Who are you talking to?
Theo, he's on the Book of Faces.
Yeah. We have our coffee in our official Monster Manor mug. I have to plug.
I know. I have mine in my Nintendo mug.
That's cool too. Cool. Yeah.
Because when it gets hot and it lights up, this actually shows the Game Boy screen, which is pretty cool.
Yes, absolutely. So, what's next on the board? Again, in keeping with the Creature from the Black Lagoon theme, I don't have the laptop in front of me, or the iPad. That has all the files on it. But this is another one of those things that you can't find anywhere.
Without giving up on your first.
Yeah, it's like a mortgage payment or two, depending on the condition. Now, I, again, could never afford that. And I wouldn't. That's just a crazy amount to spend.
And we could give them our firstborn child.
Yeah, I'd maybe do that. But this figure...
I love you, Emily, if you're watching.
there is a long history to this. Back in the 70s, again, there was a company called AHI, Azraq Hamway International, and they got the license to do the Universal Monsters. Now, what's interesting about that is they got the license to do it, although Mego was trying to get the license. So Mego, they decided to just do their own anyway. Um, AHI started doing these. They did a Frankenstein, a Dracula, a Wolfman, and a Mummy. And again, loaded with blood and everything like that. It was funny. Um, so then this thing comes out, and it has a very, very short run. The reason being is that, remember I was talking about the Aurora model kits. So this guy here, he was actually broken apart from the Aurora model kit. And you can see, like, this is a reproduction that I did, but I used the original, like I said, the original model kit that I had scanned. This was the original one, only about 1/4 scale. So I used the file and then did the engineering for all of these joints to actually function like they did. I didn't make them extra clean. I didn't make them extra pretty. I just did it exactly the way it was because that's what I grew up with. That was kind of the gimmick back then. The paint job, this one is a little bit extreme. I was trying a different technique on it, but the paint job, it was basically the green figure with yellow airbrushed on certain parts. It was really, really rough. The paint job was rough, but everyone wanted it. And then AHI, they got a stern talking to um, from from Aurora Model Kits, who actually did the sculpt, and they're like, "You can't use that. Don't use that." And they also did one that was a little bit different that they could release, but it was a female version, not because it looked female, except that the joint at the hips caved in really, really bad. Um, hey, Wolf, how you doing? See you joining on TikTok. We're on all the media now. Thank you for joining us. But yeah, so this thing was kind of shelved. They didn't do many more of the creature. They did tons of the Frankenstein, the Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Mummy. You could find them everywhere. The creature became very hard to find, and the thing that always affects the price on this is it was blow molded plastic, and all of the yellow paint was just scratched off. This is enamel, so it's not going to scratch off. But basically, that is. That is a figure that's based on a toy from 1973, which was a year after I was born. But again, I could never afford it because this one also is like, I think the highest I ever saw it go for on a mint card with a mint bubble was like $7,000. And there's no way I could afford that. So
That's more than our vehicle.
yes. So I took the again the scan of the Aurora and I made it just like the AHI. So this is almost identical in every way, except I did put some tells on it because I don't want people ever saying, "Hey, this is an original," and then getting into trouble. So mine have the our studio information on the bottom and my signature, which I don't know if that's going to show up on either of them, but it's got like a signature on the bottom, and you can probably see it on Facebook as well. But on the inside of the leg, I also have a tribute that says copyright, you know, the 1973 Universal Studios. I'm not implying copyright on this at all. But it's what I call in our Replitoy. It's a quality, qualitoy. That's what we were saying. A replica qualitoy. So it's made with modern sensibilities. But yeah, this is that. So I'll show you what that looks like in process because they're all hand assembled.
I am gonna bust out my paint potty here that people can probably see on Facebook and maybe
Oh, the paint one?
Instagram.
Yeah.
I call it my paint potty. It's not. I feel like it's a potty. It's just this fancy little thing.
Of course.
The little box. Got a button.
Producer lady
Water
is on the other
collector
side
here.
of the room.
This is the water containment bank, and I like to do it this way because that way it doesn't spill a little bit quickly. And the liquid runs down, and it makes like a little puddle potty.
You'll
here,
have
and
to
then
show the people
brush my
over
brush.
here because they're missing this
Flush
one.
and rinse. You
So
just kind of flush away the potty water.
I'll show you what they look like before as well. These are the body segments. I'm trying to show it on both platforms, but these are the body segments, and this one is also different in that I left the split fin, but it's very reminiscent. Even the neck connection is very similar to the way it was. We're going to put a little rubber gasket in there so it actually can be turned a little bit. The shoulders, if you're familiar with the design of these old figures, the shoulders actually looked, they had these little bubbles on the side with a little notch, and then you could just pop them in and out. A problem is that they were also blow molded plastic, so they would break. They were cast very, very thin, so they would break. So all of these are replicas that I had to re-engineer to get like this. But we warm up the plastic and then pop them in, and they move like it would have back then. So this has actually got a little bit of flex to it. This plastic that I used on this, I put a flexing agent in it called Tenacious. If you're familiar with Tenacious, it's a product by Soriatech that is almost like a gummy consistency. So I add that to my resins to give it more resilience, more droppability, if you will, because I hate these things that you drop them with the regular out of the bottle resin, and most of the time they wind up breaking, and they break in a really cool way. They just glass. So yeah, so I'll show you some of the assembly that we do. The only thing I'll mention this too, the holes that you see in the bottoms here and in the arms and in pretty much every one of the parts that are hollow cast, there are holes in there because the resin has to be drained out. If this was solid cast or rotocast, it would have its own problems, but that's a whole different type of mold. But these, because we wanted to have that same lightness, that same feel of the old days, this was done a little bit differently, that it was hollow cast. Even the torso section, this section in here was hollow cast. The legs are a little bit tight because of the process of putting the O-rings in there. They do have to be loosened up a little bit, but they will rotate just like they did back in the old days.
Well, they're not crows, Phil. They're turkey buzzards, and they're yours. So.
Phil is on our other platform, but you see how they can turn. This one's just going to have to be broken in because I wanted the legs to be nice and tight from a little, engineering standpoint, because people are going to want these to stand on their desk or on their collectible shelf. But here's the cool thing. I did bases for these also. I don't know if you can see what's on those bases. The pinkish color, that magenta color, is actually the color of the packaging back in the day, the AHI packaging. And on the top, you can see the official world famous Super Monsters, which is what they had at the top of their package, and then Creature from the Black Lagoon. So since this came out so awesome, I will probably be doing, all of the monsters. It will have to be painted. Obviously, I'll paint, all the black details and the white coming down here. So yeah, there's that's another process. And we do have the little stand pieces that wrap around his waist. So once he's in there, you're not going to have him falling over, and it's just a real classic, beautiful base that reminds you of the old packaging while being, darn cool. Looks like we had a question come up on what I guess one of these things back here. This is probably the only one that you can see here. These are some other products that I'm working on for the NECA figures, custom pieces for the NECA figures that are actually the Frankenstein Strickfaden machines. Because you remember that Frankenstein had all of these nice, wonderful things in his lab. And I recreated some of them. This is only a portion. This was the first print that I did. And sadly enough, we had a fail for some reason, remember I was talking about that slicing program? So we had an issue where it just stopped in the middle for no reason at all. It just stopped. And it was real rough as far as having a lot of lines on it. Usually I have 0 lines on whatever I print, but this one just stopped because it was situated on the build plate that it would come down like this, touch the resin, expose to the UV, and then go back up. But it was done. It was like raised up all the way like when a print is done, but it wasn't going anywhere. And that's what it had. I was mortified because that's like a 12-hour print. But yeah, so that's available for people that are customizing the old NECA toys. They've got Frankenstein, they've got Dracula, all the classics. NECA, for those of you that want to look it up online. But these are all basically just made to look like the old Strickfan machines. And this you have to put together. This top part slides in. The steering wheel you can either leave in there and give a turn to, but that was just stuff that did invisible things on screen. No function whatsoever. It just had to look cool, you know. So good eye for the person that caught that one. But yeah, those are Frankenstein prop pieces. There's like this radio one that it's very delicate. I beefed this up a little bit more, but yeah, it had like
this
these.
one is the pearl.
Yeah, yeah, but it had a little bit too fine a part, so I did beef that up for the production pieces. But that's why we do prototypes, you know, and that just sits there.
Trial and error.
Unfortunately, trial and error. But that is. Oh, I got a smooch. So that's it. Do I have to call HR?
Go ahead.
Hey, HR.
Fuck off.
Profanity.
I do what I want. I'm grown up.
For those that are joining, hello,
HR
welcome
says
to
you can
the
stick
madness.
that in your pipe and smoke it.
Okay. All right. So next, I'm going to be working on putting some articulation points in, and I'll show you how we do that, because they used to use a metal, like a metal rivet almost. The metal rivet, I'm afraid, we probably couldn't get to work in this because of the way that it's situated, but we can get something pretty darn close. But what I do is I use plastic styrene, little posts and everything. Where are they? I thought they were in here.
No, I think they're on the table.
Okay. But you can get amazing things done with the plastic, and it's not as hard to attain because there was a very specific rivet. And I'm also going to need.
Please wait, sir. I need to get
Okay.
cups. And why are your glasses on the floor?
I dropped them.
I don't take you to the eye doctor and get you the glasses for you to throw them on the floor. Oh, these are the readers.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't take you to get those for you to
Okay.
throw on the floor.
No.
Oh, look at that.
You got the color? That's it?
Yeah, this is the one I used last time. See, this is why I throw stuff away.
Well, you're going to have
I throw a lot of stuff away. Don't get me wrong. I throw a lot of crap away. I'm
Yeah.
constantly throwing stuff away. But
gotta-
there are certain things to hold on to for a reason.
You got to bring that over before you start working on it.
Well, I'm gonna go to get the
Oh,
Hobo
that's
Baby
right.
in
You
about
need to get
5
Hobo
minutes,
Baby.
So I didn't want to start. I finished all my skulls, and I didn't want to start the next project because I gotta leave in 5 minutes to go
Yes.
get Hobo Baby. So I'm gonna take a
I
tinkle
endorse it.
instead.
I endorse it.
What, tinkling or getting the hobo
Yes,
baby?
yes, because
Yes.
you gotta don't hold your urine if you can help it. It's
Yeah,
not
well,
good
I think
for
I'm
you.
gonna use the kids' bathroom because our bathroom's right there, and I don't think everybody needs to
You
use
ca-
the
yeah.
Baby.
Yeah, we're in our office, which is very small,
It adjoins to our bedroom.
but this is going to be nice and tight. I love that. I hope they all come out like that, and even the head is really tight in its motion. These are really tight, so I think people are going to love the articulation points on these, especially. But now you can see we have all the joints on there, so I have to make something that is functional, that will work with this resin, and not be as hard to get as the rivets, the metal rivets, which were specific. It had like what they call a closed end. It was like almost like a thumbtack on one side, small thumbtack, And then on the other side, you could see the metal that is basically curled into a little ring around the top that holds it in place. So since we can't do that, we have to do the next best thing. And I love doing things as close to the original as possible while making it easier on everyone involved. Because, yeah, don't like to make it any more money than it has to be. And if I have to buy new things that don't add too much to it, but it's going to add another $10 to it, I like to try to keep it cheaper. So these pieces actually telescope. I'll show you what I use. And it's evergreen scale models. You can get this at most hobby stores or Hobby Lobby, Hobby Town. But they've got all different sizes. They've got rods, they've got hollows, they've got about everything that you could possibly want or need. So I love that place. But there are hollows, and we have these other ones that are solid. Now, in order for this to work correctly, I got to get the right thickness here, because there's a hollow end that's going to slide in to reinforce, and it's also going to give us that round cap. So if you guys are into any kind of fabrication when it comes to this stuff, this is some of the secrets that we use on the daily. Not necessarily secrets, but you know, stuff that not everyone knows. Like, I'll throw this out there. Super glue. A lot of people pay a lot of money for super glue accelerator, what they say. You don't need no fancy accelerator. We actually make our own, and it's made with a little bit of distilled water, just basic distilled water, and then we take that and add a little bit of baking soda. And the baking soda in the spray, you spray on, and it automatically will cure the isocyanate, or not the isocyanate, the like, yeah, the acrylite, the super glues and gorilla glues, that sort of thing. The instant glues makes them more instant. So you can see how that fits in, and it's going to allow for motion like this. It's a little bit loose now, but once we get it all together, it's not going to be very loose. So I will show you a little bit about how we do that. So first things first, double check all of my parts, make sure I got the right ones here. I think this was, yeah. I think the other one is a little bit bigger, different diameter, because you got to worry about the inner and the outer diameter on these. We need it to be fairly tight, because we also want to use a little bit of model adhesive. We use that to hold it together and make sure that it kind of fuses everything together.
I'm going to the booth.
Have fun with that.
And then I'll be back to paint some more stuff.
Okay. And we'll show you what she's working on. I will see you momentarily. So, yeah, we want to just get a rough idea of how this fits in. Make sure it's going to be long enough by the time we're done. So we figure out what the length is going to be, and it's going to be basically the same length on all of the parts. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to rotate it and kind of score it. Styrene is really cool for that because you don't have to cut it all the way through. It basically, you score it, it's going to pop. So we don't like to score it too crazy much if like it's rolling around in the wrong position, because then it's a weak spot. But like this, it's perfect fine. It's very strong. It's got enough give that it's not going to crack or fracture. But it's I've used that technique for quite some time now and never had a problem with it. Never, ever, ever. And I like using the liquid glue on this. Yes, you can get non-toxic, but it's never as good as this. This is the Tester's plastic cement, the liquid plastic cement with the little brush at the top. It melts the plastic really, really good. This, it's funny because it lasts me a long time. This is from 2001, but it's still good. As long as you keep it capped, it's good forever. So we got a little bit of difference in the prep for this to be there, but it only is going to be affecting one side for the most part. So it doesn't have to go through the entire piece. So I just take off a little tiny bit of it, score it. Once it's scored all the way around, you can give it a little snap and it comes right apart. And then this is what I'm going to build into the joint. So if you slide this in just a little bit, get it like that, because again, this is going to be flattened out. This is the pan end of the rivet, the faux rivet. And we're going to take this and we're going to just drip it a little bit into this end. The adhesive part is going to totally flash off. So, meaning when it flashes off, that means there's nothing in there that's going to be flammable other than the plastic parts themselves, which you got to be careful with. But you see how that's kind of, it fills one side. I don't know if you can see that on the two different, but it fills the one side and then the other side is hollow to basically emulate how that was back in the day. So first thing we have to do is make that into our nice little end. So we got to wait for this to flash off just a touch. And this is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It just melts those plastic pieces together. That's why they don't really have that nowadays on the market. You have to be 18 or older to purchase it because it's flammable. Back in my day, the only thing you had to worry about is people sniffing it because, you know, eventually you get a little bit wheezy from it. But yeah, that's the kind of fun. Now I do need to get a little bit of flame. So bear with me one moment. I will be right back. All right, we're back. I'm trying to keep up on questions, but let's see here. All right, so this is all I use. Nothing crazy. And I go by feel of size for how big this is going to be. But basically, you just have to warm up. You're not melting it, you're just warming it up a little bit. And then you're just pushing it down until you get the size that you want. And you can see where we fused it, it's even more fused now that we are heating it up. Make sure that when you're doing this, that the plastic adhesive, which is flammable, has flashed off completely. But there you go. Now it's got like a little bump, a little flat spot. That flared out is going to be able to hold the leg joints together. And you always have to double check, because if it's not the right side, because there is a right and a left, if there's not the right side, you're going to feel that later on. So I know from working on it that the outside has the covered edge. So it's going to go on something like this. And all we have to do now is take this part, which will be painted later, and push that in. And there is our pin set. That can be painted to look like the aluminum that the originals were made out of, or the whatever material that was. I believe it was aluminum. And then out the other side you have, I don't know if you can see that, but you have the other part of the joint. So it's kind of just slides through to hold it together, just like in real life. But we have to do the same thing to that. So again, make sure this thing is not painted at the time you do this. Wet paint or adhesive is not good. If you expose it to flame, it will actually ignite. And then you got a whole nother set of problems. For this part, I like to use a little silicone because it's resistance for a lot of heat. And we're just going to wait until that heats up and then push it down there. So this is usually where I have someone helping me, so I can go back and forth really, really quick. But we just have to heat this up a little bit, and it starts to curl it. You can actually see how it starts to curl it and lay it down. And then we're just going to touch it lightly and kind of push these two together. And that helps it to be a little bit tighter. Now remember, I still have to do the other tightening to it, which I do after the fact. Usually it's either a little bit of tape might go on that and the joint, or I might put a little bit of white glue. The white glue sticks to the resin, but it also gives it a little bit more drag when you're working with the articulation. But that's about what we had as far as articulation in the old one. It was very cheaply made and very hastily made, so we're trying to keep that same feel. Now, I make sure that it's not going to slip through. The faux rivet on this side is not going to slip through this way, and I want to make sure that this looks a little bit more authentic. So now that we have it together and we know how much we have room for, I'm going to hit this again with a little bit of flame and just kind of let it flop over a little bit and a little touch and bend that over. So then we have a sealed end to that. And I could probably get away with doing it one more time, but I'm probably going to need another set of hands as well, because you can actually tighten the joint up quite a bit by pressing harder. But I don't really have that extra set of hands currently. But this is a really cool technique. Let's see if I can do it that way. It's a really cool technique to do it this way and repair other dolls as well, because you can go to a thrift store or Goodwill or something like that and find a cool doll, but maybe the rivet's busted or hanging off by a thread. You can actually do that. If you have a figure like the old ones where the leg would break here, but the rest of the figure was fine, you can find a replacement lower leg. You can now fix it with something like this. So yeah, I use that quite a bit. So that's how we do that. And this one's a little bit different because usually what I like to do is get all of the limbs done and then just do my final assembly, because then you can actually support the weight with the doll stand and everything. But this is a little bit different. So we're going to do the same thing on this one. Get our glue ready. This is where the fun begins. I hope you all are having a good day. Here in lower eastern United States, it's rainy as all hell. Our hearts are with our neighbors up in Kentucky. They've been through it. So if you are viewing us from Kentucky, we hope you're safe. We hope everything is going well, that the cleanup is going to be okay. Take it from a Floridian, almost a lifelong Floridian. No matter what happens, you can always rebuild. I just hope you're all safe. That's the important thing. Rebuilding is one thing, but you want to be safe. Okay, we're just setting in that. Again, we're turning a hollow into a solid piece of plastic. I think you guys can see that. So just put the adhesive in and then lightly tap to where it comes down. If it seems to be a little bit stuck in there, you can always feed another piece up through the end and just give a little push. And then it should fill that gap nicely. I don't know if you can see that I had to reposition it a little bit, but that's what it's doing. And that way, hopefully, when we heat this up, it will do what it's supposed to do. Now, one other thing that you can do that I can show you on doing repairs like this, a lot of times it works really well to just sand the ends a little bit, because it deposits that kind of like that dust from the sanding into that drying glue, and it kind of makes a nice seal in there. You don't always have to do that, but it does help. And I use a relatively high grit. I think this was like, what is it, 800 on this one. So you just kind of make the end flat, and you can see in there it fills up that little crevice with all sorts of dust that we're going to melt into itself, basically. And the reason I'm not just sticking the whole piece of solid plastic in there is because we need that hollow end for people that are joining later. So yeah, so we wait for that to cure. We could do up several at once, but we'll see how it goes. Now, I remember I told you I've put together a few of these now, so I know how they're supposed to be, but the length is determined by the width of the joint. The knee joint is slightly wider than the elbow joint, so we want to kind of anchor that in and double check our length, because it's going to poke through just a little bit, just enough to kind of turn over. So I'm marking my end and saying, okay, it's got to be about that long. So when I bring it over here, I give myself a little bit extra room. I'd rather have an extra little bit on this than not have enough when I go to trim it and melt it. So just go back and forth, rolling and scoring as we go, and then a little bit of pressure, and it just snaps. And it snaps clean. That's the beauty of styrene. So we can see the hollow end plugged up here, the hollow end here. So we're going to do the same thing we did before and give a little tap on this side. I want to make sure that that glue is completely dry at this point. I think it is. Make sure that's capped up as well, because you'll start to get a little bit, I don't know the word for it, a little high, I guess you'd say. And you want to be sure that if you're using any of that stuff, any of that adhesive, that you have good ventilation, a fan going perhaps, but don't do it in a small room. That's how a lot of us kids from the old days wound up getting some interesting hallucinations going on. In fact, there was the name of a book, a magazine. It was one of the first garage kit magazines that was out there. It's called Kit Builders and Glue Sniffers. And they were doing it kind of as a gag. It was a small production. So, yeah, they, dropping my joints. They had to change that when it went to wide publication, because they were like, yeah, you can't do that. So then it was shortened to Kit Builders. But the people that put that out were pretty cool people. Put the fun back in model kits and all of that stuff. I can show you that now, actually. For the arm joint. So that is the plane of motion, what you have on that. You don't have much of a range of motion on the arms. It was the way that they kind of put it in there. It was really, really weird. But a lot of times you can get the same pieces to fit in there. I did have a little issue for some reason that I had to fix before I do any more. That hole came out just a little bit too small. And it's weird because I used the same pin set to bool out of this when I did the actual, the actual piece. So the fact that it did that is really, really bizarre and quite annoying. So I usually have to get out my file. Which, do I have my file? I gotta get my file out and file that a little bit. Which, do I not have one? Oh my gosh. I'll have to rectify that. So, more than one way to skin a cat, which I don't like skinning cats. I really don't. Don't take me too literally. We're just going to open that up a little bit with this knife, and then I'll go back in with the file. I like using a file on this rather than Dremel. And this is something for everyone that does this stuff. When you do 3D printing, a lot of times, and this has been extremely softened with the flex agent that I put in this, but still, it's something about the frequency of resonance. When you drill this with, your, what is going on? Hang on one second. Getting a weird thing here. I guess they want to make sure they know who I am or something. This is weird. never had to verify. That's weird. Okay. All sorts of weird stuff going on TikTok. So anyway, we're just going in here and kind of getting that out. This is a blunted tool. But what I was saying about the drill, if you use a drill to drill this out, something about the resonance, it fractures. It like just comes apart. It's horrible. And then pieces, chunks break off and you're done. Got to go back to the drawing board on it. Dremels are a little bit better, but you got to go slow. And I use a blunted tool, and a lot of the little files. They're like these tiny little file sets, which I thought I had them out. I don't know where they wound up going. But those file sets, you can get them in like Harbor Freight, and they will make short work of that. Actually, I'm going to go and see if I left it out on the other work table. It'll just take me a second, and then I will be back. Okay, here we go. So I got a bunch of these little files that work really, really well. These happen to be flat and kind of an angled, a tapered one. They work really well on this as well, because I can actually stick this in and then go very slowly, a little bit this way and then a little bit this way. And why am I doing it that way, you might ask? The reason I'm doing it this way is because the ends flare out and it leaves inside a little bit snugger, because we have an issue with the joints getting, actually a little bit weak, which we expect with action figures from the 70s, but I don't want that to be the case with these. So I'm going to test the size again, see if it passes through yet, which it doesn't. So we're going to go back to, I'm going to use a little sharper blade and get that. But we need to make a little bit more room in these joints here. And it's better to go a little bit at a time. You can always go and take more material out, but you cannot put it back. It's very hard. Actually, in this, you could probably have the easiest time doing it, because if there are issues that have to be filled, I don't like filling them with just anything, especially if the color on the outside is that important. So what I wind up doing is using the same material that I cast this with. I do a run with the same material. I drip it in where I need it, fill a gap or whatever. If I chip a part out, I can put that in there and then just UV set it. And then it's like glue. It just sticks so well because it's of itself. So you're not having unlike materials joined together, that's why you have fails on a lot of this stuff, because the material just is not made to go together. Even a cyanoacrylate, like a super glue, it's not the material it's bonding to. It just happens to have enough tooth to hold on to it. But when you have material that is like material, it's going to really, really stick. So we're almost there. Again, I don't want to go too loose with it, but on the subsequent prints that I do, this is definitely going to be a little more tight on the tolerance, because I don't like having too tight a joint. I don't like having too loose a joint, but every one of them that I did on that run, the joint needs to be kind of cut out a little bit. But it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. Shouldn't take me that long, should it? But slow and steady. So, and where is everyone joining from? Is everyone safe where you are? It's nasty, like I was saying, in the southeast. Awful weather here. I don't like that. Try to stay away from the awful weather, but here we are in Florida. We pretty much always get awful weather. Gotta be a little bit more aggressive with this, unfortunately. And this one I am using a cylinder. It's more of a round, but if you go in at an angle, like I am, you're still keeping that slightly tighter in the center, and you're just widening up the outside of it, which is okay. That's fine. You just don't want to go too aggressive and then have a way loose joint. Hard to fix that. All about angles. But the tighter you can make that, the better. You just don't want there to be so much stress on that joint that it doesn't move. And that if it does, then the people that paid all that money for it have a broken collectible. And that's never good. I like to make it once and that's it. So this is one of those things. I can usually move a little bit faster if I'm not streaming at the same time, but still, it takes a long time to get these things assembled and painted, and that's not even considering all of the research and development and actually doing tests. You know, we've got another project that we're working on simultaneously with wildlife skulls, and I've probably done 3 tests already, so we can see what it's like in a practical use situation. And that's the time that you don't understand. It takes time to do this stuff. So just gotta go slow. You want it to be done right, and especially considering what you do have to charge for things like this. You just don't want people to have to pay a lot of money for something that you don't put the time into. I've had that too. It's like the artist's equivalent of taping a banana to a wall and calling it art. Everyone has their own. I get it, but to me, I don't understand lazy artists. You know, don't take advantage of your fans. They deserve better, you know. Time to put a little bit more of this in here. And artists already have a hard enough time because of people that don't understand that art takes the time it does, if that makes sense.
My cigar got wet and it broke.
The what? What got wet?
Name a car for an edit. Huh? Name a car? You have not been looking over here.
No, I haven't. And I don't know what that means.
Addin to Helly says hi.
Hello.
Says name a car for an edit. I don't know what that means.
Herbie.
And then Phil says, I have a great question. I've always wanted to know, along with everyone else, who cuts your hair. Christine says, I'll vouch for you and stay safe.
Oh.
I don't know why we're staying safe. I mean, it's raining.
It's raining, and I didn't know it, but evidently there's like serious weather coming out of the Gulf.
Tornado warning and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to pick the boys up from the bus stop.
Yep. Fun. It's always fun in Florida. But you know, my heart is honestly with the folks from Kentucky because they are
Well,
really.
we might get tornadoes today too. My shoes are all wet. My shark feet. I almost busted my head open over at the bus stop.
Yeah.
Cause my shoes, my shark feet, they're rubber shoes, so I'm glad I didn't have regular shoes on, otherwise they'd be soaking wet. That's my toe that I stubbed at Grammy's house the other day.
That's a shame. Yeah, for those that don't know, Miss Producer Lady has shark, kind of like Crocs, but they're sharks, if that makes sense. So we're setting that pin in there again, and then we are going to make our lengths that we need. So we'll use this as our idea, our basic. The only thing I'm going to do differently, I think, is let that flash off a little bit more, and I'm going to make my tea before I do my cut because it's a little bit tight for that other one. Oops, sorry guys. It's a little bit tight. So we heat up that end and then press it down. And we get the best kind of rivet tops on that, while it being plastic and easier to deal with. And then once we get it in place, we can bend that to a round. So it takes a little bit of work to do this stuff, but it's so rewarding in the end when it looks like it's supposed to. And I like how tight that is. At least one of the joints should be a little bit tighter though. The reason being is that, if it's tight in one, it's at least going to not be like two pieces just rubbing. No resistance is a bad thing for action figures. So you want a little bit of resistance. And see, that is good and tight there. So it should float very well. Now, sometimes you can get by with, on these, you can get by with marking them with a marker for your lengths and stuff, and cutting it with, like those little nips that they have with the 3D printers. I don't always like doing that. These things. You can cut the plastic with that, but I don't like doing that, and I'll show you why in just a second. Because the plastic, the little model nips, these are used to get like pieces off of sprues and for the supports and everything, but I'll show you on this bad end. If you use this on the plastic and you're cutting, even if you kind of rotate as you cut and you get to a certain point and you cut through, you get a weird pinch to it, and you can bend that back, but every time you bend this stuff, you got to understand it's going to be weaker. So
I don't remember these being shot in black last time.
They're bronzed.
Primer.
They're supposed to be bronze.
I know.
The black was basically the primer.
Yeah, but then my color's going to be different.
Why?
Because it's going to dry different.
Well, we can hit it with the bronze. We have more.
Yes, but last time, no, I'm talking about the hand part. Because I'm getting ready to base coat it. And
right.
Last time it was over a gray primer. Now it's going to be over black, so my color is going to look different. So I'm wondering.
Oh. Well, you could always shoot the top in the gray primer. We've got it out there. You got to shoot the bottom in the bronze.
I know, but it's so humid now. The paint's not gonna. Oh, it's not gonna cooperate. It's very frustrating.
Just shoot it in here.
Yeah, in the house. That's cool. That's a real good idea.
Nobody minds,
I do.
Okay.
So there will be no outdoor painting because of the humidity.
Yeah.
So it looks like painting these, base coating these is going to be.
I'll take care of it in a second.
A negatory. I don't know.
I'll take care of it.
I don't know.
You have to take certain precautions with paints and humidity. It's not a good combination. So we're going to heat this up a little bit and make that edge kind of nice and flary.
Gaming Life with Mark says hello.
Who?
It says Gaming Life with Mark.
Hello, Mark.
I don't know Mark who. It's marked with C, but not that mark.
That's nice. Okay. So we got a nice tight joint there. That is the way I wish they all were. So
Just over there making noxious fumes with siren in my house.
yeah, that's why I said just paint. A couple of squirts. What's gonna harm? So we've already got the two. And that's the other thing on this is that they are painted afterwards, just like the figures. They kind of painted them all together. So if a figure had an arm that was crossing over something, they didn't even care. They just painted it. I can't see who it is, but someone's saying they got to meet Julia Adams before she passed away at Monsterpalooza. Yeah, she was always great at those shows. I loved her. Her son was fantastic as well. His name was Mitchell Danton. They did a lot of their appearances together because that was his mom, so he took care of her. Such a good person. Such a good person. We've lost so many, and Rico with the last wave of passing, and like I was saying earlier, David J. Skull passing. It's not been a good few years, but Julia has an excellent film that her son did. He's actually an editor, and I think he was a stunt performer out in LA as well. He was in Star Trek, of all things. He was also in okay, there we go. We got it. He was also in Star Trek. He did a bunch of stunts for that. He's an incredible person. So the talent did not miss in that family. Oh, Matthew is saying over there that he's also a monster maker. Brother, that's what we do as well. And I don't want to say it's starting to become an endangered art, but at least with this stuff, a lot of people aren't into this kind of thing anymore. In fact, toy companies are suffering all over the place. I've seen it in my own workload, but yeah, I mean, the toy companies, Hasbro, last year they put I think it was almost 2,000 people. They fired them and or laid them off. Their quarterly sales were abysmal. So they had their time of it. Okay. So again, we will tighten up all the joints after the fact. Now it's just about assembly. But yeah, so you can see how it's going. We've got all the rivets in there. We've got the outside. They're relatively the same size, which is how they're supposed to look. So that's how they get assembled. So we just got a few more on this one, and then I've got a tray full over here that I have to do. We've got a few more minutes on here that we can be visiting with you fine people, and then we'll try to do it again real soon if you guys had a good time and you want to keep doing them. Sometimes we're working on things like this. Other times we're working on more detailed pieces. These, if you can catch our buddy Daniel Roebuck, he is one of the sweetest people in Hollywood, but he will usually have these at his table. But they are exclusive pezzes that we make for him of not only his character as Grandpa, but also Uncle Gilbert, and they are functional. They actually do work, but he puts them into beautiful boxes and they come autographed. They might even be up for sale on Monster General Store if you look at that website. But he's one of the good guys. So something is always brewing, that's for sure. If it ain't coffee, it's something else. Like, we're working on a really cool project because you guys might know that I was on Face Off, so I was special effects for the most part. But if you look at this piece here, this is, boy, that's bright. It's a finger, a healthy finger. And the other one, the mate to this, which is this one here, the person that we're helping with this, they actually lost the tip of their finger in an accident. So we have sculpted the tip of this finger based on the good finger that she had, and we're in the process now of digitizing that so we can print the molds and cast it in silicone. So she will have a silicone fingertip that is much more like what she can feel is comfortable, because the ones that she's getting currently, they are not like tailored to her specifically, so they don't fit very well. They're kind of uncomfortable. They're hollow. It's hollow about halfway down, so they're always coming off on her. So we've been going back and forth on this and trying to get the best fit for her. Oh, your friend was in, oh, Immortal Masks? That that's cool. That is really cool. See, it's a small community. Someone's asking on over on our what is called the I always forget because I almost never go on there anymore. Um, but we get questions from people that are on there, and I see so many people that know someone that was on Face Off. It ran for like 13 seasons, and you can't help but have a huge group of followers in that long a period of time. And the people that were on that show have mostly gotten into, doing what they love, which is awesome. I mean, it's fantastic, but we got hit with so much stuff over the last few years from the strikes and the pandemic and everything like that. That's kind of why we do a little bit of everything. I've done action figure toy prototypes. I have done statue prototypes. Um, a little bit of everything. Anything that I can do to just put food on the table. We've done some work for theme parks, Galaxy's Edge. I can't say exactly what it was that we did, but what we created is on both coasts. So it's, for me, it's been a very fulfilling life, with or without Face Off. But by and large, everyone's been pretty successful. Okay, same thing. We're going to go ahead and create our little pan head out of this. So warm it up. And I don't usually use the red part of the flame. I go all the way down to the base where it's kind of clear or bluish, and just give it a warming up. And then once you get that, that's what you get. Again, for the people that are just joining us. So we're creating a fake rivet, basically. And then we measure, make sure we've got the right length. Now, I think what I'm going to do, since I've got so many to do, is when I'm done with this, I'm measuring all of them, and I'm just going to pre-cut everything. But I want to give people an idea of how this works. Yeah, this one goes through a lot easier. So it's going to be a rivet like that. That will be painted silver, and that way it looks just like the one from the 70s. And actually, these parts here, all of the parts that you're seeing, even though I'm going to paint them silver because I'm anal retentive, especially the ones on the arms, they're going to get coated with yellow. So it's a little bit different, but they'll be coated with yellow paint. Go down the arms, the abdomen plates here, down the legs, and then a little bit on the sides of the gills. That's how they painted them back in the day, and the same thing on the back. So they were very hastily painted, I guess you would say, to say the least. I don't know. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So that explains your tag, your name, shift this. So you do custom shift, like the shift knobs. That's cool. That is really cool. I've often thought of doing that, but I don't know the first thing about that market. So I've had people come to me and say, do you do custom shift knobs? It's like, oh, I can, but there are so many out there. You could probably just check it on eBay or something like that and find one that's cheaper, you know. And I talk myself out of a lot of work with people because I don't like to overcharge people. I don't like to treat them unfairly. And if I'm doing one for someone, it's going to cost them so much more than if you go to someone who has the molds already, the sculpt and everything, and they have their process down. Why reinvent the wheel? So I usually wind up referring those inquiries to someone that I know does that. So now I know someone that does that personally. So that's cool. I will send some work your way as I get asked. But that's cool. See, the cool thing about our people, we said this earlier, our people are probably the most creative people. We get such a bad rap because we're into monsters and scary stuff and, gothic horror or whatever it is. But those people used to be the outcasts. In some ways, we still are. So all of those people that were kind of shunned in their community, there was always the black sheeps wearing the dark clothes and everything and hanging in scary movie theaters and stuff like that. And we grew up to be these people that we were more introspective, but we created. And now I'm so blessed that I was a nerd, that I was an outcast, because I don't think I would have this career if I wasn't the outcast. Life could have been a lot different if I was one of the popular kids. If I had stuff to do all the time and I was always, sporting events and stuff like that. And instead, I was at home reading and sculpting and learning everything I could about this business. I was very fortunate, and this is not someone that most of you are going to know. His name was Bill Merkling, and he was one of my earliest mentors. Now, he was also one of those silent people that just did this stuff quietly. But Bill Merkline, he was a fine artist that lived in New York. That in itself is not the cool part. The cool part is that Bill Merkline sculpted most of the original G.I. Joes. He sculpted them. And this is a guy who took a shine to me and said, I want to help you out. Let me send you some epoxy putty. It was the first time I ever heard of it. He called it plumber seal, which there's a totally different product. Don't go to the store looking for plumber seal because that stuff never dries. But yeah, he said, I'm going to send you this stuff. It's called plumber seal, and try sculpting with that. He did all of his miniatures that way, the action figures and stuff like that. This was before of the days of pictographing where they would reduce the piece. It was done perfect, sculpted wonderfully, and that was all Bill Merkline that did the first few rounds of that. Amazing artist, and he was one of the guys that kind of took me under his wing and said, "You got to try this. You got to try this. You got to." And ultimately, he was right on the money. One of the nicest people I've ever known. I have really been blessed to know a lot of cool people in my life, and if you watch us on Monster Manor, you see just a handful of the people that I have come into contact with through my years. And I'm fortunate that they went from being people that I admired to people I could call friend. Talented bunch of people. Good bunch of people. Oh, Jordu Shell and Ed Edmonds, absolutely. Tom Savini, all those guys were giants. If you were, especially in the 60s and 70s, Dick Smith was also one of those guys that pretty much all of those other guys learned from. Tom Savini, he was kind of a pioneer on his own, but he was good friends with Dick Smith. Just amazing talent back then, and they were pioneers because it wasn't being done like that. The effects, the way they were being done then, totally different than they're done now. In fact, I'm almost tired of a lot of the effects now because things that used to be practical 100% are not anymore. And it's like, really, guys? Could we just do some practical? Because even the actors are like, when it's used properly, it's a great thing. But that's the operative word, when it's used properly. Um, People get lazy with special effects, and it's not because of the special effects artists. It's because of the producer that thinks that they can do it cheaper, faster, and they can't use that old fight. Well, it looks more realistic. The other looks like a special effect. I Even on something as fantastic as Jurassic Park, the new ones especially, I can totally see the effects. I think they did better in, what was it, 94 when they did the original Jurassic Park. But now it's like starting to get, you can see they're going the other way, and it's not quite as perfected as it was back then. But I mean, look who was a part of that. I know the physical effects, it was Stan Winston, and very few people are on that level. Your brother owns Midnight Studios Effects. Oh, the Cheneys. Yes. I have been trying to get in touch with Ron to be a guest on our show, because I really, this whole season of Monster Manor, we're trying to dedicate to the classics. Because I know I've talked about this before, with David Scull passing. It was very, very unexpected. It was through a drunk driver. And I knew right after I found out that he was involved in that accident and passed due to someone else's negligence. Heartbreaking. I knew I wanted to dedicate Monster Manor this season to him and classic monsters. So I will get in touch with him. But if you're really good friends with him and you can pass this along, I would appreciate it, because I would love to have him. His family was royalty. I mean, we just had Sarah Karloff on our show, which I love Sarah, and her dad was amazing back in the day for multiple different reasons. But when you consider Cheney's impact on this industry and what he got paid for a lot of his films in the beginning, I'm talking senior at this point, he got paid next to nothing. I think it was like $50 a week. And then people thought, wow, that was really, really good, and we want to hire you again. And he said it's going to cost you more. So they offered him, like, I think $1,500 a week. And the comment was, no, I want that plus what I made originally. So it wound up being that plus the amount that he made, because unions were non-existent back then. Unions didn't come along until actually Boris Karloff's time. Boris Karloff and Lugosi, and there was a number of other actors during that time that were actually the founders of Actors Equity, which then, of course, went into the Screen Actors Guild and the other unions and stuff like that. But if it weren't for the support that they got from people like Lugosi and Karloff, that would have been a whole different outcome. I mean, that was like clandestine. You would get fired. You would get put off of studio work. Your contract would be cut if they knew that you were doing that. So, yeah, it's amazing what they did. But here's Lon, way before that time, doing his thing, and he was of the stage. So it was expected that when they started doing silent films, that they would be responsible for their own makeups. So that is why you have these amazing makeups coming out of, Lon Chaney's background and Max Schreck, not the guy from Batman Returns, Max Schreck from the black and white silent film Nosferatu. Coming this way?
Yeah, I'm sneaking in to pilfer some materials.
Are you going to show the piece that you're working on now? Because that's cool. Show it on your camera and then bring it over here for TikTok. I couldn't remember what TikTok was. See, I think it's the glue fumes. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But yeah, there's a whole history to the Cheneys. I absolutely adore them. Lon Chaney Jr., Creighton. He was the only actor to play all the monsters, all of the monsters. So that was an accomplishment back then.
What are you?
Are you working still on the trophies?
No, we discussed that
Gotta
it
paint
needs
them.
to be painted, and the top is gonna have to be sprayed in
Primer?
and it's raining.
Well, we'll figure it out. What else you working on?
Well, I was going to try something that I had considered in the past and hadn't. I was gonna pull out some rib bones and play with them.
Okay. There's always something going on here. In fact, we're pretty much. What time is it now?
It is 2:58.
Yeah. So we're at 3. Pretty much at 3.
Yeah.
And you at least got to see how this gets assembled. I think what we'll probably do is maybe tomorrow we'll get on to the painting of these pieces, and you get to see some, some nice little work here. And yes, Matthew, do me a favor, and if you can, I guess like this account here, and if you follow us, then I'll be able to follow you, and we can chat. But we'll definitely get your information, because I do get that call every once in a while, people that absolutely want gear shift knobs and stuff like that sometimes I don't have the time for, and it's just too expensive for someone to do that. So, for them, I'd rather pass it along if I have to. But it was good meeting you guys here, and I hope that everyone was able to see us on Instagram. That was the first time we were streaming on Instagram, but I think it automatically kicks us off at like an hour, I think, if I remember correctly. But we'll be back. We'll try to be on tomorrow, and if we're able to come on tomorrow, we'll get on to the painting of this thing, and that's the real fun part, because you can do painting with very cheap airbrushes that you can get at Harbor Freight for next to nothing, and they even have their own compressors that you can get very cheap. Graduate up eventually to like what I do, and I have one of everything. I really do love the Pache products, because they're H and VL. They're pretty much the easiest ones that you can use. They're the work horses of the industry. Tim and Tina, the distant. Yes, they found us. Those are our friends. We see them almost at every show we do. Yes, they're over here now. The Dis Divas refers to the group and the syndrome that they are fighting. I mean, that's a battle. I will let her do the explaining if she feels like, but I tell you what.
My crippledness.
Yes. What these women have to deal with actually everyone. I did read something that said that like most of the people that have Ehlers-Danlos, that have the worst effects of Ehlers-Danlos, which my wife has, Miss Producer Lady, that alone, it's mostly women that have that. And that there are diseases that are specific to women that men see very little occurrence. Oh, Pache is your sponsor? Yes. I was originally dealing with a gentleman. I don't think he's there anymore. I think he's been gone for a while, but his name was Passion. And I always used to say Mr. Passion, because he had a passion for airbrushes. That was the cool thing about it, is that he wanted Pache to be in front of as many people as possible. So when he contacted me, reached out and said, "Hey, can you want to sponsor?" I'm like, "Really? What do you want me to do?" And this guy, Chuck Passion, he said, you tell me what you need, and I'll put together that, bring it to the people that, the powers that be, and I will get back to you. So I went through their catalog, and I just did wish list stuff, thinking that they were going to send a couple of things, and I got 2 big boxes, and I'm like, when they showed up, I was like, literally, I was flabbergasted, because I'm like, not only were they big, but they were heavy, and I'm like, what the? So I start opening it up. It was, and they gave us a beautiful, beautiful. We still have it. This was going back 10 years, and we have one of their compressors that has been an absolute workhorse. I've taken that to the haunt with me. I have taken that to conventions. I have taken that other places because it's heavy enough to be, it's total. We have like, I think what was the record? We had like 4 different airbrushes hooked up to it, and then we still had one of the, because we put one of those 4 splitters on it, and we had those tapped out, everyone using it all at once, and we had another one that we could have put another 4 on. But that was really cool. He sent us some of the liner brushes, which weren't even airbrushes, they're just gravity brushes. Love those. Spatter brushes, loved those, because they also listen to their people, and when they say, hey, we want to do, what do you want? What do you want in an airbrush? And some people were saying, well, I really want something that spatters without me having to customize it. Yeah, because that was the trick. You'd either put, like back in the day, you'd put like a piece of metal wire, you'd bend it like in a 45 and actually wire that to the tip of your airbrush. So when the paint stream hit that, it would kind of spatter. So you'd lower down your pressure a little bit, and then you'd have one of those on there, or whatever. I mean, toothpicks. You got creative. Nowadays you can print this stuff, but he came up with a way of doing a spatter brush, and I was like, oh, great. Thank you. I was just blown away. And I contacted him. He's like, no, thank you. I know that everywhere you went, you've said that you love Pache. Pache is your jam. And this is kind of a thank you. And just give us a shout out. So you'll notice that our credits for Monster Manor. Yep. Our credits on Monster Manor all give credit to Pache. And another one that we had on there forever, our friend from the best. In fact, I have some of them here. Where are they? Because those I want to show you, because you need to get these. You know what? Oh, here they are. Here they are. Sorry. Okay. So this is my friend Robert Burns, not Bob Burns, because that was always a confusion. But he has this line of tools, fine line tools, big tools, ribbons, all sorts of stuff. But cutting edge sculpture, one of the best things out there. I know that they're selling them, but I don't know if he sold it or what. But that guy, his tools are awesome. He had like a contract with, if I remember correctly, he had one with Kazu and with Steve Wang, I think, or Wang, depending on how it's pronounced. But yeah, he had a contract with them, did specific tools for them. Yeah. And for us, we asked him for a couple too, and we were like, we need something like this, and he wound up getting us one that he didn't have. I will show you this. This is cool as hell. Okay, cutting edge. They have some tools like this. I always wind up tearing them up though. But I actually got this from Producer Lady. But it's actually for a brush. This is like what it dehairs brushes, like hair brushes. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just like a dog brush with the little angles to the comb. This I use to put the coolest textures into Monster Clay. So, and this rake is only like, what, $1 something? I think on Amazon you get it in a couple of days, and it was like $3 for 3 of them, or $3 for 2 of them. But that is a really good tool as well. Texture tools I absolutely love. But yeah, I think shift this, Matthew. I think that we could be friends, man. We've got a lot of the same interests and run in the same circles. But there is the throwback creature from the Black Lagoon AHI figure. And again, once we get this all assembled and painted, he'll have his little base that he'll stand on proudly. We're also going to be doing bases like this for all the characters. So if you want to have a little bit more sturdy way of displaying them, that you could actually have a nice little doll stand for those figures, because they're a little bit tipple-topply, they're old and they were meant to be played with, and they always had that saying on the side that said something like, what was it? They would say some poses require hand support. So yeah, all support. Yes, just hold on to it. But yeah, that's him, and I'll tighten up the joints a little bit more before he gets painted. But there you go. So we worked on this one here. Got to tighten up those joints. And then we worked on the Pen Plaques throwback figure today, which that goes like this. It even has, this is the cool thing. I told you that we made them a little bit different from the original, and we did, but it has, it's going to be weighted in this part here, and then this part is the base. So the base of the original, because you got to remember this was an aquarium aerator. So in order for it to stick into the gravel in the aquarium, it had to have these little feet. And I even sculpted these feet as close to the originals as possible, so the gravel can go under the feet, and that way when you put it into your tank, it stays put, because it gets filled with air and it's very buoyant. So it's going to be weighted, and then it's also going to be authenticated with those little feet that go on there. And I'll show you what they look like. I'll show over here first, if it will show. The light is really harsh over here. I am going to have to change that. There we go. So you can see the detail on that. And that has our logo on it. Instead of it being Pen Plaques, we affectionately call it Fen Flax, because Scott Fenster Sculpture Studio, and it's our retro Qualitoy. And for you guys over here, you can see it too. Is that coming in on that screen? Can you see what it is?
No. You can't see it.
Yeah. Limitations. Maybe we don't need the bright light. Let me see if we can do it without the bright light now that we're done with pretty much the work part of what we got to do.
The light's glaring.
Yeah. Let's see if that's any better.
Are you the producer hobo?
The what?
She's the producer hobo.
She is a producer hobo. And if you don't know, Hobo Baby, she gets called that because, when we're filming Monster Manor and promotions and stuff like that, she's the one that's usually at the end of the day where she's dirty and looks like the kid from Mad Max, just all a mess.
She's
But
a mess in a dress, but she's our mess.
Yep. So there you go. Oh, here's an unpainted base. I just did that in the green. Now I've separated out the file because we're out of the test phase. But lots of stuff going on. This is just one part of what we need. Where's that crow? This is another thing that we got going. This is a prototype, of course, but I got to show this off. This is a shoulder sitter. So let me see if I can move these out of the way so I can show both cameras. So this is a shoulder sitter. Still needs to be refined. This is the first basically the first working prototype. But yeah, it moves. It sits on your shoulder, but it moves, and then it's going to have left-right motion as well. So we got to work on a couple of details with the assembly, and it'll also be a little bit smaller because this one wound up being a little bit too tall on a person's shoulder and it kind of falls. But it's got a plate that goes between your shirt and this, And
Like no sugar.
that's how that goes together, and it's kind of neat. And we have an open mouth version, and we have a closed mouth version, and they can articulate up and down, and they can also move left and right. So we've got other beautiful collections that we're going to be adding to this. We've got brand new sculpts of cats and fantasy creatures. We've got a series of improvements that we're going to be working on that are just incredible. So look for these in the convention circuit soon. We also have some new products coming, so if you're following us, you'll get to see those as soon as they come out. Remember, we do have, if you feel like checking out our other monster offerings, you can go to monstermanor1313.com. Check out all the products that we have on there as far as links. You can go to YouTube. You can go to practically every site that we're a part of. We are part of Patreon if you want to support us that way. I would prefer that you check out our Etsy though, because you actually get something for your donations, and I definitely would appreciate that. Printify, we have Printify with exclusive shirts, handbags, hats, wrapping paper, all classic
Shirts,
inspired.
Skirts, dresses.
Yeah.
Christina liked a couple of dresses.
Yes. And we also have a cults account where we put a lot of our 3D files on for people to print on their own if they're interested. And then we have stuff that we've since had just at shows, but this is one of the examples of the things that we created and sell. But it's filled with brushes on both sides. But this is what we wanted to do with this is one side would be your paint water, the other one would be your brush holder, and you would never try to drink your paint water again, because that's always the thing. That's the big joke, that you have a cup and you have a paint water cup. You are going to drink the paint water. So this way it's kind of hard to notice that. So yeah, you're not going to miss drinking this. So we have all sorts of stuff like that available. We always take custom orders and that sort of thing if we're available for it. So that's about it. So any other questions before we say adieu for the day? And we'll have a whole bunch of new stuff tomorrow. I appreciate those that came and hung with us for a little while. Tell your friends if you can. We would love to have more people watching and following. We have so many cool shows on our YouTube channel, but we can't break like 600 people for some reason. But we have guests like William Crane, the director of Blackula, Dan Roebuck from the New Munsters and the Rob Zombie films. We've had Douglas Tate, who played Jason and Michael Myers in 2 different movies, like legit movies. He was one of the stunt performers. So we have so many guests, and it's like nobody's seeing us on YouTube. We were on Tingler television, but we've since, moved away from that. We're looking for another home. Probably Monster TV or something like that, but we're looking at expanding our brand a little bit, so you guys can be a part of that. But let me see, request box. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. You'll have to tell me again, Matt. I'm not sure what request box is. But okay, well, I guess that about wraps it up. I will keep in touch with you. I will go over right after the broadcast wraps, Matt, and I will get you. Oh, okay. Yes, we're probably going to do some of the airbrushing hopefully tomorrow, and you'll get to see that. We're going to probably be using enamels on that, which is a little trick on, with the airbrush, because you got to definitely clean it out. Alcohol paints are by far the easiest, but yeah, you don't want to get these trapped in your airbrush. So yeah, so that's basically that. And I think what you're saying is to come in. Let's see, maybe we can meet. So I'm old. I haven't done this before, so bear with me 1 second. So I have to tap your picture. Let's see. We're gonna see if we can join in here. Okay, I can follow back. There we go. Let's see, guests. Let's see how this works. This will be our first guest in. Let's see. And I'll even turn it towards me so we can talk face to face. Let's see how this works.
Can you hear me?
I can, Matthew. That's you, right?
Yes, sir. It's me. Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much, man. I'm just sitting here in the studio real quick before I've got just some of my pieces that I'm working on.
Oh, awesome.
Did your mom make
It's
favor?
gonna be polished a little
In
bit
that
when it's done. Of
bedside
course,
table
it's
drawer, there's 2 bags of batteries. Can you get
Fantastic.
AAA batteries?
got this other one.
Oh, cool.
He's pretty awesome.
Now, is that a hood ornament or is that one of the shift knobs?
This gonna be a hood ornament.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Awesome work, man.
Yeah, so I appreciate it. Then we got the clown. This is a shift topper. I'm gonna do a whole hood of the truck like this, but I did a small one first.
Oh, nice. There's just something about those twisted clowns.
Cool feature about this is once I mold it in silicone and whatnot, I'm gonna put a magnet in his nose so his nose can come off.
Oh, nice.
So if they don't want the nose on, they can take the nose off and then the magnet goes right back on. And
Oh, that's awesome.
the nose can come back on, yeah. But yeah, no, I actually, it's kind of ironic that you brought up the Cheneys because they're really close friends of mine. They're family to us. So,
Yeah.
I've stayed at their home. I've been with them for many years.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, shout out if you don't know, with Bella Lugosi, they're close friends too. And Sarah, they all know me really well. Bella Lugosi has a wine company now, and if you don't know, make sure you go grab some of his wine. They have so many. The names of them are amazing.
Yeah.
First of all, of the different types of wine that he puts out.
Yeah.
They're all great. And this is my monster, of course. This is my rendition of him.
Oh, nice.
Of course, he's not Frankenstein. He's the monster. Everybody
Yep.
thinks that he's Frankenstein, but he's realistically the monster of Frankenstein.
Oh, that's
So,
cool.
Sarah
I wish-
loves
Got
him.
the coffee.
I wish everyone else could see this because we're streaming on Facebook as well. So we'll have to just
It's okay.
take a break from Face Off and go or Facebook and go over here to TikTok because this is awesome.
Yeah, so Sarah loves him, and the rule with Sarah is you can sculpt the monster all day long. You can't sculpt his bolts. The bolts cannot be part of the
Yeah.
sculpture. They have to be added on. So, but she
Thank you, ma'am.
she herself gave us the thumbs up. She approved it. She said that yes, you can sell him, and if anybody says anything, I'll go directly to the horse.
Yes. Yes.
And also, I talked to folks over, my friends over there at the Star Wars people, the Winston family of everybody, and they're fine with me doing this. So,
Oh,
as long
wow.
as I didn't do the original voice box, so I went ahead and put a cancer symbol in there for folks.
Yeah.
So this is a hood ornament as well.
Mm.
We got lots of cool things, lots of sculptures going on. This is a shift topper, my rooster.
Oh boy.
They all look kind of. I've got lots of different rat rod stuff,
Yeah.
Rat Fink. I got a rat fink that I'm doing right now. It can't be called rat fink because,
Yeah.
the folks, but it's so close that I actually had to change a couple things because I got too close on him.
Oh, yeah.
The Hell's Angel vehicles, they required me to do one of their headlight. This goes on their headlight, so it's still working mode here.
Nice.
The 3D people I love, but I raced a 3D printer the other day, and we the human won, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of my old ones. It's this guy's. They don't take very long at all. You know what I mean? If you got the talent, the gift, you know what I mean? It's pretty easy to
Yeah.
do. But no, I'm glad that I've been following you for a while. We just have never connected on this level. But,
Yeah.
we know all the same people. Ed Edmonds,
Yeah.
he's like an uncle to me. He's just right down the road. So I'm in Colorado.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah. So it's nice to just go over to Distortions and be like, hey guys, what's going on?
Yeah.
You need a hand with something, you know? So I really wish that they would bring back making monsters
Yes.
TV show again.
Yep.
You know, that was really cool for people because I think it's kind of ever since the 3D printer come out, it seems like everybody is a sculptor now, and realistically, that's really not a sculptor. It's just you're sitting there watching a program. So
Yeah.
you know, Stan Winston, you know, rest his soul. Him, and all the Rick Baker and Mike Hill,
Mm-hmm.
Jordu, and John Fuller in California, and Pat McGee, and all the people that are like sculpted so many things in this industry that they're kind of being pushed out to the side now in a way, and it's
Yeah.
because computer, you know, nothing like Lon Chaney Senior. He would never um, he would never conform to that. I mean, he was so. I heard you talking about him earlier, and I've heard so many intimate stories about him that most folks don't know. And I'll share one with that. He was so awesome that in his time in Hollywood in California, a lot of actors didn't have a way to get to the studio, and he had a car, so he would go around and he would pick up. He was the official like monster Uber ride. He would go pick up other actors and go, okay, we're going to the studio, and he would go around and pick them all up. You know, a lot of people don't know that he would go around and drag them down to Hollywood.
Oh my gosh.
So he was fundamental about how he cared about his fellow actor, and a lot of people that couldn't do their own makeup, he would take the time while he's like in makeup, work on other people's makeup for them so they could be able to provide for their family.
Yeah.
So that was just so cool. That time frame of helping your fellow artist.
Yeah.
Kind of like it's what's really cool about going to Monsterpalooza and seeing
Oh yeah.
all the originals, all the old school. That was really cool to get to actually meet Julie Adams. And unfortunately, the next day that I saw her again, she had no idea who I was.
Oh yeah.
45 minutes with, you know.
Yeah.
But her son did. Her son remembered me and everything. So, but he took me to the side. He's like, be easy on my mom. She's losing her memory, and it's sad because of all the things that she knows.
Yeah.
But anyways, I didn't want to take up your time. It was an honor to come in and be a part of.
Oh, is he talking about Mitchell?
Yeah. Yeah. I am glad that you did. Thank you for showing me how to use this add-on button to get you on the screen.
Yeah, it's really fun to add in other people.
Yeah.
That way, their people come in and it all comes together.
Yeah.
Normally, I have I'm not that popular, but sometimes it's like I have 300 or 400 people hanging out.
Yeah.
Watching. One thing I can add to you, if you want, when you're doing your thing on this here TikTok, swipe over, drag your screen from the left to the right, and it'll make the comments bigger, so you can be able to. If you interact with your community.
Try to, yeah.
It's like right now, someone says hi Scott, hey Scott. And reading the comments, it makes people go, oh, they see me.
Yes.
So that on this platform, it's all about interacting with the people that come in, and sometimes we get involved in our
Right.
Yeah.
But I hear the production crew in the back.
What did you do?
Hard at it.
No, that was me. Well, coming over here, I'm making stuff too, and
She's making stuff.
Yes.
I dropped the flashlight.
You are recognized. We hear you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am making flowers with bones.
Flowers with bones. Okay. Maybe what I'll do is since we can see on the Facebook, and I think it's the Facebook and Instagram, I think, cut off, but I'm going to try to take this out and see if I can bring TikTok so everyone can see this.
We got the production crew back there next to us, but she's hard at it. Look at her. There she is.
So I made these flower petals out of bones, and I'm gonna make them into actual flowers with,
So those are,
other
for those that don't know,
roses.
they're snake ribs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the plan. I'm gonna make like little lotuses or something. I don't know.
Well, I think you're on high producer lady
Yes. Yes. That's our
I got little here, producer lady zero hour, but these are little candle holders that I just on the whim.
Being bigger.
Oh, she's trying to make you a bigger image.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, he's our people. Look at that.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, I'm definitely
I love it, man.
See, he makes ugly clowns like me.
Yeah.
I got lots. These are my newest ones. These are the new guys.
Ugly. I love ugly things.
That's right here with me.
Shut up. Oh, he's cute.
I love it.
But they screw around. How they work is like all the rat rods in semi trucks. They screw on with this attachment here, and it's set up like that. So you don't actually shift. You don't actually shift from here. All your high low and thing down here. These just set up higher. So they can show off kind of like
Mm-hmm.
on top, so people can see like, oh yeah, look how cool custom that guy's shit.
That's pretty cool.
That's where it came from. Yeah.
That's cool.
All kinds of runs. We've got over 50 designs now, so new ones coming out all the time.
Oh, nice.
But anyways, guys, I love you guys. You guys are awesome, and I can't wait for you guys if you're watching the banner show again.
Yeah.
No, I matched these two up, sweetheart. That wasn't you.
Yeah. Our first guest is going to be Sarah, and we're hoping to do, yes, for this season 3, Sarah's going to be on our first guest.
We already recorded.
It's almost a 2-hour show. She's on for an hour and a half of it. So, awesome lady. And then we just need more classics. So if you could talk to your buddies and see if they'd like to be on. Yeah, we do it through Evie Mux.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
I actually just talked to him a little bit ago. I'll call him back. His son just got married and whatnot, so
Yeah.
they have 8 grandbabies. So
Oh wow.
pretty wrapped up with all the grandbabies and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, but he's awesome. He's always coming out to Colorado because they basically Jamie Senior started the deaf blind school down
Yes.
So they always come out and visit that. Of course, he's so into that. So yeah, no, I'll text him back and see if he's busy, and I'll ask him. Just send me a direct message if you can. Just click on my name.
Definitely.
And I'll be able to send him the info about how to contact you and whatnot.
Oh, that's awesome. I would really appreciate it, man. That's how we're gonna spread this thing, is just word of mouth. We're in a 3rd season. First season we got a nomination for a Rondo, but yeah, so we're just trying to build it and give people what they want. So it's a show for the people, basically.
Yeah, I definitely use that as my sculptor when I always at work. It's like
Yeah.
the precursor, but the precursor is just like the flash, and that's I gotta put that away before it becomes something.
Yes. Yeah. I'm dangerous with that now because I even do the.
Actually getting to talk to you and hang out with you. Thank you for allowing me to come in.
Oh, my pleasure.
Producer lady, we thank you for your hard work back there, and
Thank you.
graciously bow out here, and
Okay.
continue your
Yeah, we'll do it again soon, man. I promise. That'd be awesome. So, okay. Okay, so that was a learning experience, but we got to talk to now hopefully a good friend of ours. That we have so much in common. That's the thing, is that when you were a monster kid, you grow up in that environment, and it kind of permeates into all facets. So when you see someone like you, it's like, hey, I know this guy, even though
You can
you may be.
pick your own
Yes.
people out of a crowd. The
Yes.
gray beard guys.
Yep. Yep. And for those that were saying, hello and hey, thank you guys for all joining. It was cool getting to see the names because it's been a while since we've been on, and now I know that I can also make your messages larger, so that will help when I'm sculpting. Uh, to everyone that joined us today, I know it's kind of a weird time for us. It's during the day and during the week, but thank you for joining us. Hit the follow button if you want to see more content like this. We're always doing something. That's that's our one to-do list pile in here, and it's got a little bit of everything, from scan pieces to all sorts of stuff to even personal projects that I just haven't had time to get to. But eventually we will. But even stuff like this to show that I do more than just monsters. I've even got like the cutie stuff. But that's for another project. But yeah, all sorts of stuff. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to follow us and check us out next time. And we're going to get back to some of this other stuff after a short break. But thank you guys for joining. We will see you next time. And to our followers and friends on Facebook and YouTube, thank you guys for joining. Um, for all of you that made comments, Tim, thank you for your support as well. I pray for you daily, man. I hope you're doing well, and you and Christine are going to be fine. I think we're all going through stuff nowadays, and the best thing we can do is at least know that we're not crazy, know that we're not alone, and I just love you guys. So thank you all for popping in. Gaming Life with Mark, hello. Atten, I don't know what you needed the name of a car, but let's just say Steve. And Phil Kelton, he's our buddy and partner on a lot of the stuff we do with the scanning and the wildlife skulls, everything else like that. If you go through the list and you can see them, there are a lot of people in here that you probably want to follow and see what they do. So I encourage that with our friends. So yeah, we're all crazy. We're all crazy here, Tim, and that's the good thing. The crazy people don't bother me. It's the normies. The normal people bother me. They scare me. But anyway, thank you guys for joining. We're going to try to do this more often, possibly even tomorrow. Like I said, we got to just get through this first stage of the project, and then we're going to do some nice airbrush painting and show you how that works. So thank you guys so much. We will talk to you very soon. We're 2 hours and 34 minutes in. I think we did okay. So y'all have a good day, and we'll see you next time here on Monster Manor Studio.